Hey guys, I've been through the strategies a lot in the last couple of days. Oop, I forgot my prop. I've been through the strategies a lot in the last couple of days, so I won't hash them out again here since you've heard me talk about them in the other posts. And if you want that refresher or review, just head back to the posts from the last couple of days. You'll see them again. But I did want to walk you through what we did in class today, again, just to make sure you're really clear on what this strategy is, because you've got one for homework tonight that I will be checking tomorrow using the Klondike articles. So what I'm going to do now is I'll walk you through the process that we went over today for the Quest of the Silver Fleece and home. I asked you to, or well, I didn't ask you to, the question asked you to compare and contrast how the main character of the Quest of the Silver Fleece and the speaker of home feel initially, and how each one's feelings change over time. Now that's our overall task, and you're going to see that a lot, that you've got an overall task, and then you've got bullet points that you're asked to hit by the question as you go along. Just like we've been saying all along, the first overall thesis statement relates back to that first initial task or question that they want you to answer overall. So look what we did here. We took that question, we just kind of rearranged the order of stuff, and we said the main characters in the Quest of the Silver Fleece and home both experience changes in their feelings over the course of the passages. Like none of that was our words, we were able to use the task to be our thesis statement. Why? Because whenever you're answering a question, the basic answer that you come out with, that you ultimately wind up proving, is your main idea, is your thesis statement. So why not use the task now when we're writing this? It's much easier, it sets us up for success with the answer. But we know we're not done there when we're writing an introduction in an extended response. And so we have to use the bullet points also to show what we're going to be talking about later in the essay, because they tell you, hey, explore these bullet points later in the essay. So we have to make sure we do that in the essay, but we also have to make sure we set ourselves up to do that in the introduction. That's what an introduction is. So we use that first bullet point, which says, describe how the character in the Quest of the Silver Fleece feels at the beginning of his journey and how his feelings change. Well, if we're RSQing and giving a basic answer, we came up with the main character in the Quest of the Silver Fleece feels, and now we insert the blank, alone and scared, going back to the question, at the beginning of his journey, but ends up feeling hopeful. Shows a change, right? Totally what we're going to be talking about later. We don't need specific details yet. They're going to come in the actual body. This just sets up our reader to know what to look out for. So then we move on to the next sentence. We've got two solid sentences, but we also still have two bullet points left that we haven't talked about yet. Remember, you take the number of task-based bullet points, you make sure you have a sentence for each of them in your introduction, but you also make sure that you have a sentence for the overall thesis, which means that anytime you're writing an introduction, you should have the number of task-based bullet points as sentences plus one, the overall one. So we're looking at 4 sentences, we've got 2, let's look at the third one. We use describe how the speaker in home feels upon returning home and how the speaker's feelings change. The speaker in home feels, insert the blank, comfort upon returning home, but ends up feeling alone and scared. Very basic, very easy, but it's an RSQ with a basic answer that shows our reader this is what to look out for. I'll prove it later, but look out for it. Last but not least, the final bullet point that is task-based says describe similarities and or differences in the change of feelings experienced in both passages. Well, now we have to do a little bit of answering, but not even that much. Let's rework this. We wrote both characters experience changes in their feelings, but they experience them differently. Have we set up a similarity? Sure. Have we set up a difference? Yeah. We've got the compare and the contrast, which is exactly what they asked for. Now we have got a quality introduction that we haven't even really had to do much work for. We've just reworked a bunch of their work already. And now we've set ourselves up to know that we're answering the question number 1. And number 2, to provide that bit of organization that the rubric that the state has provided says that we need to have if we're going to get full credit. Now remember, the whole body is going to wind up being separate paragraphs for each separate bullet point. Don't squish them together. Make sure you have paragraphs. Make sure that each thought is its own paragraph. That's what a paragraph does. It provides organization. So again, it's all laid out for you how to get a 4 out of 4. You just need to actually follow the strategy. Please, because some of you still are saying, you know what, Mr. Kaz, thanks for the strategy, but no thanks. Guys, I'm not doing it to be a jerk. I'm not doing it to give you extra work. As a matter of fact, it should be less work, and it's going to be less work for your reader, which means that they're much more likely to give you a higher grade. And what you deserve to get, because your understanding is there, don't allow the task to throw that off. So we went through this first bullet point, and what we did is we just took the line from up here that we already wrote based on the bullet point, and we reworked it a little bit so it's not boring. It's not just a parrot of the top, but really it's the same sentence. In the introduction we wrote, the main character in The Quest of Silver Fleece feels alone and scared at the beginning of his journey, but ends up feeling hopeful. Well, now we wrote, at the beginning of his journey, the main character in The Quest of Silver Fleece feels lonely and afraid, but becomes hopeful and excited. We have just done a little rearranging of the sentence. We've made it a fresh sentence, but we haven't done any extra work, which is always great. But now we have to prove that, because that's a topic sentence, and just like a thesis statement, a topic sentence has to be proved. So where do we go? The text. So, bang, we said, in the passage it states, lets the reader know right away, this is not just because I said so, this is there. We found that line that was much better than the one that I highlighted even in the resources yesterday that I put at the bottom of the post. We found one at the beginning of the next paragraph that says, in the passage it states, yet now he was alone. Right? We've proven that. Lonely. We've taken our thesis statement, our topic sentence, and we've taken a part from the text that says exactly the same thing. Yet now he was alone. The empty night was closing all about him here in a strange land, and he was afraid. We've proven it. Everything that we said in our topic sentence, using the supporting detail. Great. We have set ourselves up. Now, if we want to make sure that we are showing a change, we have to give a transition word. However, later in the passage, again, no work necessary, we just need to give a word that indicates that we're talking about a change. He hears music and follows it hungrily, half forgetting his fears. Those quotes let the reader know that you got that from the text. It's an event from the text, and it even uses part of the text to show what got rid of his fears, makes him not afraid, right? This clearly shows a change in emotion. We don't always have to write a concluding sentence into each paragraph, but sometimes it's really nice for our organization to close up that one thought and then begin on the next paragraph. Now, I'll let you, well, maybe I'll read through this one. I'll read through this one because it says, it's talking about home, and because it's a poem, it's a little bit more difficult to say in the passage it states. So really, we were talking about how he feels, because we know poems have a lot to do with emotion. So here's what I wrote. The speaker in home feels comfort upon his return home, but moves toward a feeling of loneliness and fear. The speaker in home feels comfort upon returning home, but ends up feeling alone and scared. I've done the exact same thing for this one that I did with the previous one. We take a look at the sentence we wrote up here, because we know that that's what we told the reader to look out for. Hey reader, hey reader, hey reader, this is coming. Now we've just reworded it a little bit so we're not exactly parroting. And now we're going to prove it. He describes his little room, and you know, quotation marks allow the reader to know, hey, don't just take my word for it, it's in the passage, as having a comfortable gloom at first. However, we use that changing transition word after he sees the ghost in the chair, because remember, we talked about the music in this one. Okay, so what changes him? We need to talk about the ghost that changes the speaker in home. After he sees the ghost in the chair, his feeling changes. He says, I lay and watched the lonely gloom, all night I could not sleep. And then I put one more concluding sentence in, where it says, it seems as though all comfort is gone now. It gives a little bit of voice, which we know that the reader is looking for if they're going to give us a 4. And we've tied up that idea. Well, now we move on, and the third bullet point is interesting because I had people ask me, Mr. Kaz, do I need supporting details for this one? It doesn't seem like they fit it. I'd be using the same details from above. Good thinking, guys. You don't need the text details from up here. Now you just need to put in your own thinking in this paragraph that shows how different each of them are. You've shown the changes in both of them. You don't need to show them over again. You just need to put in your own thoughts about how different they are. Well, while both characters experience a change in their feelings, they experience that change differently. Where did we get that from? Directly in the introduction. We already wrote that. We used the bullet point. That's our topic sentence. Let's go about proving it. Both characters want to know more about what is happening, but are left feeling opposite emotions. We've already said that, now we're summarizing it. The music makes the boy in the quest of the silver fleece feel hope instead of loneliness, while the ghost in home leaves the speaker feeling lonely and afraid instead of comfortable. We've already said that, we're just tying it together, and we're proving that what we've set up there contributes to our similarities and differences. Now we've got to tie it all up. Well, what do we do in a conclusion, Mr. Kaz? I never understand conclusions. Guys, you're just saying in a conclusion, look, I proved my thesis. So what did I say? It is clear that the main characters in the quest of the silver fleece and home experience changes in emotions because of their circumstances. Didn't I take that almost exactly from up here? Instead of saying over the course of the passages, I just reinforced that it was because of what they experienced, their circumstances. Then, I'm summing the rest of it up. The boy in the quest of the silver fleece allows the music to change his mood from lonely to excited, while the man in home's ghostly experience takes him from a feeling of comfort to one of terror. And we got 4 points. And a lot of that wasn't even our own words. It was using the text directly to help us put together a very basic answer that was already clear to us when we read the passages. Don't be afraid of these. These are easy if you follow the strategies. All you have to do is understand the basic line of communication and how to break down a passage. And guys, we've been doing that all year. Don't get scared of this. Practice it on tonight's homework. We'll go over tonight's homework tomorrow, and then I'll let you guys decide kind of where we go with the rest of our practice, because we'll have 2 days left in class, really a day and a half left in class, to go over whatever strategies you don't understand or anything from the year that you don't understand, and we'll be totally prepared Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Awesome, guys. Thanks for sticking with this. I'll see you tomorrow.